Welcome to Shrouded Realities, the show where we talk about things that are shrouded in mystery, propaganda and deception, and lies.
That's right.
And today we got a good one.
We do.
We don't know about it. Sorry about my voice. Screaming a little bit yesterday made me a little bit hoarse, but it kind of sounds sexy. What do you think?
So you're a little horse?
A little horse. I'm not a tiny horse.
Oh, okay.
Just I kind of like the sexy, raspy in my head.
Normally I would comment on something like that, but this time I won't.
I really don't want you to. Yeah, I don't want you to comment on the sexiness.
You asked me directly. You looked me in the eyes and you said, "Am I sexy?"
I did. I would look Connor in the eyes, but he's not here today. We're missing Connor today, so you got just me and Steven and Ruby, the podcast dog.
That's right.
But that's okay. We got
good.
this. We got this. There's a lot going on in the world right now.
There's a lot going on in the world.
And I've learned a lot this week.
This has been a fun week, I think, and not because of the topic.
Topic's not fun.
Topic's not fun at all. I think it was a pretty horrible time in our nation's history.
Yep.
But I think it really shows a lot about our government.
It does.
Just in itself.
It does. And the similarities between what happened in the 1960s and what's happening
history,
now.
We want to name it and claim it that history repeats itself.
It does.
And everybody should know that.
It does.
And beware of the dark forces that could be afoot.
It is. And today,
I feel like I said that really well.
Afoot?
The dark forces afoot. It felt really powerful.
I should have give you something on that. I kind of just let that slide.
You did. I felt pretty good about it, though.
We do that to Connor a lot. He'll pop some zingers,
he will.
And I won't catch them until editing.
See, he's humble enough that he won't say, how good that something was. Not me.
Appreciate that.
That's right.
We're talking about, today we're going to talk about the JFK assassination.
Yeah, I think that's the conspiracy that started all conspiracies, right?
It is.
That is the King Daddy.
And from what I've heard too, this event is what flipped America from trusting its government.
I agree.
And we've never recovered.
There's been that moment, I think, in a lot of generations. We've discussed COVID was mine, where I was like, I was already a little bit wary of the government, and then COVID, and I went, nope, this is all fake.
Yeah.
And not that COVID was fake. Let me back up before everybody. But the way we went about it was wrong.
The deep state behind how the masses was manipulated.
Exactly.
Is that
Couldn't have said it better myself.
There it is. The masses were manipulated. Yes, I heard a stat that the percentage of people that trusted their government to do the right thing, it was in like the 70s or 80s percentile at that time before that. And then after this happened, everything went afoot and everybody was like, wait a minute, this smells fishy.
Whether something fishy happened or not, it was handled so poorly that everybody automatically went, wait, this doesn't make sense.
Yep.
I mean, it was handled real bad. Very bad.
And the single bullet theory, we'll get into the details behind that in a little bit.
One bullet, 7 wounds, somehow that's
two different victims. Yeah, it's just, and the Zapruder films, that's a big word.
Zapruder?
Zapruder
with a P.
Films. Yep, that's the only, I guess, known footage of the assassination.
Dude with an 8mm camera, I think he just
happened to be there.
He was like, you know what, the president's coming. Let's get a video of this.
Yeah, I got a camera. Guess what? We're going to film it.
Let's do it.
And he did. And he got the most iconic footage, I guess, you can ever get.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what else is there?
Yeah.
9/11 would be the only other comparable footage, I would say, that you've really got of historical life-changing situation.
Yeah, and I think even in that situation, the first plane, there was only one guy that got it. And he just happened to be doing a documentary. Yep.
There's only one now, so it's still pretty crazy.
Yep. November 22nd, 1963 was when it happened. There was a lot going on in the 60s.
The 60s, we're seeing a pattern.
Yeah, a lot of our conspiracy stuff is deriving from the 60s.
Why the 60s, man? The 60s had some weird stuff going on.
Yep.
I mean, you had MK Ultra just booming.
Ultra was between 1953 and 1973.
We went to the moon.
Yep.
Supposedly.
Yep.
The 60s, I mean, Bay of Pigs, you had things that I learned about a little bit today. Operation Northwood, which if you want to question your government, go look up Operation Northwood. It's in the National Archives. It is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Is that dirtier than MK Ultra?
It's close
Really?
because it shows the level that they are willing to manipulate us as people.
Yikes.
And it's all in documentation. It's documented.
Really?
We were one person away from our history books reading completely differently.
So when did that? I'm looking through it here. You sent it to me. Can we put a link to this somewhere?
Yeah, we can. It's in the National Archive, so we can link the National Archive straight to it. Yeah.
So it's legal to look at.
Yeah, it is now unclassified.
Okay,
you can read it.
Yeah, I see it here. It started out top secret, special handling, and then I see here it's got a unclassified stamp.
And that's kind of where I want to live probably in this episode more than the full-on assassination. We're going to do another two-parter.
This has got to be 2 parts.
We're getting these 2-part episodes now because there's just so much information to cover.
Yeah.
And I think you need a little bit of foundation of what was going on during this time that makes people believe that there was something a bit nefarious going on.
Something awry.
Here. Yeah.
Something that makes you go,
Exactly.
Yeah. We can get into Oswald. He's got a wild story.
He does.
He's got a similar story to another recent
to a current event situation
that happened a few months ago. We'll save that for episode 2 probably.
Yeah.
And all this ties together.
It just kind of seems like history is repeating itself.
It is, because as I was researching this, everybody knows the JFK assassination. Everybody knows it's a major conspiracy theory. Everybody knows the tiny little basics that makes it a conspiracy theory worthy topic.
But when I was looking at it, I was kind of like, how can I bring something new to this conversation? Yeah. There's really nothing new that I can bring to this conversation.
You're right. There's a ton.
Is there? You've got something there?
I mean, just the stuff that we've talked about already.
Well, Northwood, I'd never heard of that. I'd never heard of Northwood, Operation Northwood. I'd heard of the Bay of Pigs. I wasn't super familiar with it.
Yeah.
Cuba in the 60s was a massive deal. Cold War, we all know that was, everybody hears about the Cold War, but you didn't really know to what extent Cuba was a big deal if you didn't live in that time frame, and I didn't. So,
and that was the thing that I learned the most about this. Like, I've heard of the Bay of Pigs. I've heard of the Cold War. Sure. I've heard of the Cuban Missile Crisis. I didn't know all those had anything to do with JFK's assassination.
Well, yeah, that's I didn't either. So looking into all this, I was like,
I got to back up a little bit. It ties into the assassination if you're 100% in the belief that it was a set up government hit.
Yes.
But it's also evidence and clues pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
You got motive now.
If you read Project Northwood, that's where, to me, I see that they're willing to stop at nothing to get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's where I automatically take a step back and go, if they're willing to do that, they're willing to shoot a president. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, especially if they've got guys in the back ready to go that are part of that specific agenda.
And the way they describe what they're going to do in Project Northwood almost parodies what the conspiracy is, at least, of how JFK was assassinated. There's some parody involved in that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's where they're willing to go topple certain leaders in other countries and do these things and have the alibi, so to speak, of, well, it wasn't us.
Yeah.
We didn't do it. And there's some of that parody that's involved in that Project Northwood.
Let's get into that. Let's set the groundwork, the back history. Everybody, I say everybody. We'll talk about the assassination itself and how that looked and what was fishy about that.
Yeah.
But let's set the groundwork of where we were in American politics at that time in the 60s.
Yeah.
So JFK was kind of a quick rise to ascension storyline to begin with.
He grew up in politics his whole life. His dad was a politician, if I remember right.
Yep. He started out in the military. He fought in World War II in the Navy Reserves.
Yep.
And drove a boat in the Navy. He won a Medal of Honor, not a Medal of Honor, he won some kind of prestigious medal for what he did while he was serving.
Yeah.
And and then he gets into the politics, wins. What did he start out as? I think he started out as a representative for Massachusetts.
Yeah.
He was a
I
Democrat.
don't remember exactly what he was. He was a Democrat, but he was not a Democrat of how we would think today.
Yeah.
He would not be, if he believed what he believed, then today he would not be considered a Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic right there. How the parties have changed. Even recently, they've changed.
Yeah.
Very recently. But, he started out House of Representatives representing a working class district of Boston. He served there from 47 to 53. And then from then, he ran for a U.S. Senate position. And, of course, he won it. He served as senator from 53 to 60. Published a book. That was kind of one thing that kind of got him popular, I guess, enough to win even throw his hat in the ring.
Did you hear that he sold like 80,000 copies of his book? But 30,000 of them were his dad. His dad bought 30,000 copies of it, I think.
Come on. Did his dad pay for the Pulitzer Prize he won too?
It's possible. I mean, I think that he come from wealth.
He got some money.
Yeah.
He got that money. Yeah, so from there, he in 1960, he threw his hat in the ring to run for president. Started out, he wasn't crazy popular to start with, but it says here he gained ground in popularity when they did the first presidential debate. He was part of the first presidential debate and apparently crushed it.
He's pretty well spoken.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some of the most inspiring speeches probably in American history too.
Yeah, and I'd imagine he probably went in fired up, kind of like what we're seeing now, just going in like, hey.
And he was young. I mean, he was the youngest president, I think, to ever be elected. So he was...
Good-looking dude.
Yeah. Good-looking dude. Had a smoking hot wife. I mean, come on.
I didn't get into the tabloid part of this, but didn't he get with Marilyn Monroe? Wasn't that a thing?
I think that he got with more than a couple of women. I think that he was
he a player?
Yeah, he played the game.
Was he the Bill Clinton of his time?
Yeah, he was. It was just all rumors. There wasn't like a stained dress.
Nothing about a cigar.
Okay. I don't think so.
Okay, sorry, Mom. Yeah, so he obviously got elected. He barely was the Democratic nominee.
Really?
I didn't see how well he did in the actual election itself, but he did barely get in. Lyndon B. Johnson was probably supposed to be getting the nomination, and he barely got it. So anyway, he wins the election, becomes president.
He played that smart then, making him his VP.
Did he?
Well,
I've heard something.
Well, I'll say to win the vote.
Okay.
He did the smart move of like, hey,
your guys are my
guys now.
Okay.
That's where I mean a smart move. I don't mean
from where I'm coming at. There's a theory that his VP may have had something to do with his demise.
Yeah, and I have close family members who really wanted me to get into this topic because they were like, it was Lyndon B. Johnson.
Really?
Like, I was alive during that time.
Yeah.
And let me tell you who did it. It was Lyndon B. Johnson. He set all of this up.
Wow. So this was somebody that was alive and...
Yeah. He remembers it. He remembers the situation. Yeah, completely. And me and him have had many conversations, and he goes, it was Lyndon B. Johnson all the way.
Wow.
So he's a firm believer in that.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll dig into that a little later to see how
that could be a next episode, because I think that's where you can dig into the conspiracy side of a lot of the actual assassination and who did it.
Yep. Okay. So in 61, he was, I don't know how it started, but the Cold War was popping off right about that time.
Yeah.
And I think it's because Kennedy had he didn't like the Communist Party at all.
Yeah.
So he was kind of the proponent of, hey, we got to snuff this out all across the world because it's not going to cross our lines, and that was kind of the scary thing.
Well, there was
then.
some of that too. Some people actually said that he was weak on communism.
Okay.
That Kennedy was, and it was the far right at that point was saying he's super weak on communism, and that's one of the theories that the far right was the ones that set this up.
Okay. Was he being weak do you think it was more of being weak as in not caring about it or putting any attention to it, or do you think it was just he was wanting to be more diplomatic about it and peacefully stop it?
I think that what he had been proposed was so crazy that the narrative became that he was weak on communism because he didn't do what the establishment said was the right way to handle it.
Okay.
So I think that the narrative was spun that he was weak on communism because he wouldn't do X, Y, and Z, which they thought was the appropriate move.
Okay.
It wasn't the appropriate move, but to them it was. Spin that in whatever way you want. If you're establishment, which we see that every single day.
We see it right now.
I mean, we see it all the time today.
So say that was this.
You can
I
spin
think
anything.
that's our first little tie into present day right there.
Yeah, that's our first tie there. Is like, hey, I don't think it was that different.
He wasn't part of the established.
He was, but I think that he.
Would you call it a deep state back then, or would you say?
Yeah, I would say a deep state did definitely run it at that point too.
Okay. So the Cold War kicks off.
Yeah.
Everybody's scared of nukes. Nukes are a thing. Enter 1961.
Yep.
1961. The Bay of Pigs happened.
Mm-hmm.
Cuba and Russia. What was their relationship? Cuba and Russia.
I need to look at when Fidel.
Was it more they were just buddy communists? Like, hey, you're a commie, I'm a commie.
So,
let's get together and have a party.
You probably need a little history.
I need something for that. I thought that was good. You're a commie, I'm a party. Let's get together.
I see what you did there. Sorry.
Dang it. See, we're just kidding.
We're just two humble guys. That's all I can say. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But a little bit of Cuba. So in the 60s, probably the 50s, there was a dictator that was in Cuba. I've got it wrote down somewhere. What
Not
was
Castro?
his name? It wasn't Castro at that point. Dadgummit, where is it? Started with a B. Batista. That was his name.
No,
It was his last name. It was his last name was Batista. It wasn't
cool
his
name,
first
by
name.
the
It
way.
is a pretty sweet name.
if I'm going to be a wrestler, I want to be
But-
called Batista.
He was installed by the U.S. government. This dictator was
Okay.
installed by the U.S. government.
As a commie or pre-commie or not commie?
A dictator. He was probably more socialist, if I had to
Okay.
guess, but he was an American-friendly socialist. So it was we put him there. We pulled the puppet strings on him.
Gotcha.
We used their land to profit our guys, our companies here. All of that stuff was going on.
Seems to be America's MO.
It's a big thing, and it was a big thing then and today. So,
Okay.
I mean, we've had recent stuff with Assad and all
Mhm.
that where we were like, no, we don't like you anymore. We're going to overthrow you.
Yeah.
That's a thing that we do, which is horrible, and I think
put
it's
in
wrong.
somebody worse that.
Yeah, then that's how Saddam got there, if I remember right.
That's how
Anyway.
Afghanistan did their thing.
There was a revolution in Cuba
Okay.
where this guy that smoked cigars, young guy,
Castro.
old Fidel Castro comes in, and then that's where the U.S. starts freaking out a little bit. They're
Okay.
like, no, we didn't do this. This
Yeah.
isn't our guy. This guy's promoting communism, which he was. I mean,
Yeah.
he was socialist, communist, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Then the fear is they're going to get buddy with Russia. They're going to be buddies with Russia. That's a bad problem. We can't have that. Which I understand. You don't want that's your biggest enemy at that point is Russia.
Especially you especially don't want them as close as they are being Cuba to Florida.
90 miles, I think is what it is.
And I think one of the things I heard was one of the main fears of that was because of I don't know if it was World War II, but how we got into Italy during
Mhm.
that whole thing. Like they used the islands there at the base of Italy as kind of a staging point. And
Sure.
it was like poop, easy, just hop over the water and you're there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same fear.
Same, and I get that 100%. I mean, you don't want your biggest enemy to be in that close of proximity to you.
Right.
You just don't.
No, that's too close.
When Fidel and their revolution took over, all of their land they took back. They said, nope, this is all ours. America, get out of here.
Yeah.
We don't want it.
Okay.
Which I can kind of respect that in a weird way of like, this is ours. Why are we giving this to everything, all of
Mhm.
our resources to somebody else?
Yeah.
I think the first big red flag was a sugar deal between Russia and Cuba. So that was our first like red flag of like,
Like
these guys are getting buddy.
selling each other.
Yeah, it was
sugar.
an economical gain for Cuba type situation.
Are they heavy in the sugar game?
Sugarcane.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you get into the islands like that, you're gonna see some pretty heavy sugarcane stuff.
Tropical. Yeah,
tropical areas.
Okay.
So
was that before or after? When did the Cuban missile
I don't know that timeline.
That was after.
I promise I will have that.
I say after. I'm not even say what was first. Bay of Pigs happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bay of Pigs was JFK's attempt to by force take Cuba.
Yeah. From the way I understand it, but it was also with Cuban people, right? Is that correct?
So that was part of this is the beginning of the conspiracy theory. From what I understood, JFK was advised by the CIA to use quote unquote Cuban defectors so that if things went bad, which they obviously did, the U.S. could wipe their hands and say, we had nothing to do with this. This was Cuban defectors.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the case. It wasn't.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he started thinking of things a little bit differently.
Yep. Okay, so that happened. He's got blood all over his hands, figuratively and literally. That he
because
botched.
Fidel ended up and caught wind of this.
Yep.
This was supposed to be a surprise attack type situation.
Yep.
You take it back
island.
over.
I would imagine it would be an easy invasion.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that. And we were going to take that back over, install our guy back in power or whoever back in power, somebody that's going to be friendly to us. It's over with, move on.
Yep.
If that had went perfectly, this conversation wouldn't be happening.
Kennedy's the best president that's ever lived.
Yeah. And nobody would be the wiser of it.
Yeah. But it failed. So Cuba somehow smoked them, killed like 3 days. Was it like 3 days?
The intel probably gave them the advantage in that situation.
Okay.
If they caught wind, they prepared for it.
They stopped it.
Okay. In a 3-day fight.
So in essence, the Bay of Pigs was just a huge embarrassment to not only JFK but the United States in general. Like they failed at the mission of stopping communism.
They did.
In Cuba.
Did people know that was us at that point? Was that a thing where they were aware that was us?
I don't know. It's a good question for your family member.
Yeah, I'll talk to him and be like,
what
"Hey,
he remembers
Bay of Pigs, do you?" And I'll try to have that conversation before our next episode, and we can discuss that.
I would be interested to know how Americans felt about it. I mean, if it was like today's media, they would probably get a second, third page, bottom of the page headline, and
that, or it would be we tried our best to keep these people out, and it wouldn't be played as we're the world's police.
Gotcha.
I don't think in the media it wouldn't have been played that way.
Yeah, I don't think that's at all.
It would have been played as freedom fighters trying to take over the island. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it wouldn't say that we had anything to do with it.
No, they got stopped. We tried.
Not we tried. They tried.
They tried.
I would say they tried. And that's what I wonder is if that conversation was even known that we had any involvement in it.
Yep. Then the Cuban Missile Crisis popped off. Looks like 1961.
Okay.
1962. U.S. spy planes discovered Soviet missile base was deployed in Cuba.
Yep.
Which is scary. I guess that started all the duck and cover stuff that everybody was scared of nuclear war back then. It was all over the news. They had kids hiding under their desk if they was practicing for a nuclear flash.
Yeah.
So everybody was fearful of it.
That was 62?
That was 62.
Does it give
October 62.
Okay. Well, before that.
When was
was Operation Northwood.
Okay.
That was in March.
Okay.
Of 1962.
Okay. Give me some context on Northwood.
So Northwood was the Joint Chiefs of Staff presented to the Secretary of Defense. Joint Chiefs of Staff are all the highest echelon of military at that point. So each branch of the military got together and said, this is what has to be done for us to handle what's going on in Cuba.
Yeah.
Gave it to the Secretary of Defense, and then he was to present this to JFK.
Okay.
Basically what this was, and I'm just going to read directly from the National Archives here, what they planned on doing. Incidents to establish a credible attack, not in chronological order. 1, start rumors. Okay? They're going to start rumors.
All right.
2, lend friendly Cubans in uniform over fences.
What?
Land friendly Cubans in uniform over the fence to stage attacks on base. 3, capture Cuban friendly saboteurs inside the base.
Ah, so they're setting up a false flag attack.
Yep. Start riots near the base main gate. Friendly Cubans.
Stop.
That's what it says.
Riots? Staged riots? That sound familiar?
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
Okay, keep going.
There's a couple of these. All right. 5, blow up ammunition inside the base that starts fires. 6, burn aircraft on airbase. Sabotage. Their words.
Yeah.
7, lob mortar shells from outside of base into base. Some damage to installations.
So this is a scripted battle.
It's a scripted out. This is what we have to do.
Okay.
8, capture assault teams approaching from sea or vicinity of Guantanamo City. I can't say words.
Gitmo.
Yeah. 9, capture militia group which storms the base. 10, sabotage ship in harbor. Large fires. 11.
They even give how to start the fire right there.
Yeah, they do.
Naphthalene.
Yeah, I don't even know how to. Yeah, I didn't know how to say that.
That sounded smart, didn't it?
It did. That was really good. 11, sink ship near harbor entrance. Conduct funerals for mock victims.
Stop.
Conduct funerals for mock victims in lieu of 10. So if we don't sabotage the ship in the harbor, we definitely need to do some mock funerals here. Yes.
I'm reading it with you and I don't believe it.
I know. It's crazy. This is what the United States would do. United States would respond by executing offensive operations to secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements which threaten the base. C, commence large-scale United States military operations. 3, a Remember the Maine incident could be arranged in several forms.
Stop.
So Remember the Maine was in it was a warship in the 1800s. I can't remember, that happened in Cuba.
Okay.
It sunk the ship.
Cuba sunk it?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know exactly how all that went down.
Yeah.
Regardless, it was a ship called the Maine that got sunk in Cuban waters.
Yeah.
So they said that they could recreate a Remember the Maine incident here.
Stop.
Yes.
Read A.
Read A.
Yeah.
We could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba.
Come on, America.
Yes.
What's going on?
B of section 3 here. We could blow up a drone, unmanned vessel, anywhere in Cuban waters. We could arrange to cause such incidents in the vicinity of Havana or Santiago as a spectacular result of Cuban attack from the air or sea or both. This is our government.
This whole thing's scripted.
Yes.
And all of this is a way to start a war with Cuba or a way to
go down to 7.
Hijacking attempts against civil, air, and surface craft could appear to continue as harassing measures condoned by the government of Cuba.
Concurrently, genuine defection of Cuban civil and military surface aircraft could be encouraged. They also said that they were going to, and I've got to find it, but basically invoke terror in our country and blame the Cubans for that. They were going to do plastic bombs and place them in strategic places. What? Said that it could cause some serious wounds and hurt people that's in our country. That's a definite possibility. Our government was trying to set up, because of the Fidel Castro situation and the fear of communism spreading to other Latin American areas that are close to that.
Okay.
Making sure that didn't happen. And they were willing to do all of these things to say, nope, Russia, you can't be involved with this.
What?
To keep Russia out, they were willing to literally start a war in Cuba to overthrow Fidel Castro.
I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want to be that podcast.
Yeah.
Something happened in 2001 that sounds a lot like this.
Does it not? You think that the government's different from 1962 to today?
No.
Why was this ever unclassified? That's another thing.
The unclassification in itself is sus.
Surprising. What did they do that
if
is
this
still
is
in a top?
unclassified, yeah, what is classified?
Exactly.
If this is the nuggie they're giving us and putting on the internet, what are we missing?
Yeah.
Come on.
This right here, when I saw this today, I went, "Oh my gosh!"
Good night. I'm glad you read it all. I didn't read it all. I just kind of
So here's the other thing. So we were one person in our country away from this being our reality that we read in history books, and it wouldn't have read the way that this reads. You know that?
No.
It would have read as if all of that Cuba was attacking the U.S.
Yeah. So this never happened.
This never did
Wormwood
happen.
never happened.
Northwood.
It was just a script.
This is what has to happen. This is what they said had to happen.
Okay.
So it was given to the Secretary of Defense, given to JFK. JFK, after the Bay of Pigs and the disaster that was, said, can't do that. So then
when was
the
this?
deep state of the day has some problems with JFK.
March of 62.
Yep.
The assassination happened November 63. So this is a year and a half before that.
Before
the
Yes.
the Northwood
was a year before
and
an assassination.
And just before the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes.
Okay.
So we also had
Interesting.
many assassination attempts on Castro.
Okay.
That's
Did you give me? Was it you or Connor that gave me the stat that he was the most assassination attempts person ever?
Yeah, he was pretty.
It was like in the hundreds.
Pretty high up there.
Yeah, like hundreds of times people tried to pop him.
I'm sure we didn't have anything to do with it.
None of that.
Especially after reading this.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly. How dare I?
How dare
horrible!
you?
How horrible of a person I am for even thinking such a thing. This is, if y'all haven't read, and we will link this.
Yeah, go read it.
But you have to read this.
It is long. Don't scan through it. Don't get your TikTok brain and like I did and like not read it.
Don't skim this.
This is wild.
This is dark, and if there is anything that would make you question your government and question everything that we have done as far as overthrowing powers and the narrative you've been told, go read Operation Northwood.
Yep.
It's messed up. The things that they were willing to do to innocent people to get what they wanted is terrifying.
A series of well-coordinated incidents will be planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give the genuine appearance of being done by hostile Cuban forces.
Yeah.
So they were setting up the Cubans to be the bad guy from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to use this to start the all-out war.
Yep.
To make it to where they could go in and just
go in and obliterate
wipe
it
out
and then put in whoever they wanted to.
Good night. You think they deserved it regardless?
The Cubans? Those civilians?
Definitely not civilians, but like the government
Castro,
itself.
maybe.
But he's been there forever, and what has come
Well,
of
I
it?
mean, those people live in squalor.
Well, yeah. I mean, it sucks for them, but like as far as
and
national
he pretty
security,
much keeps them. As far as national security goes, it's not really a big deal anymore. I mean, there's been warships. Russian warships have been around Cuba recently. That's a little scary.
So the fear really is just more of who Cuba's friends are than actual Cuba itself.
Yeah, Cuba's not the big deal. It's the proximity to us that's the bigger deal. I mean, if you start putting warships right there that are capable of shooting, ridiculous missiles, you're in some pretty scary territory there.
Okay. Yeah, so all that was going on. From what I heard, I listened to a podcast. You listened to it too.
Yeah, I hadn't finished it.
Yeah, it's a long one, but it's a good one. Rob Reiner. You don't like Rob Reiner?
No, that dude is.
You don't like his movies? I like some of his movies.
Spinal Tap was great.
Spinal Tap was great. What was
that dude? Go watch
Princess Bride. Did he do Princess Bride?
No.
Did he? One of them. I don't know. He did one of them. Let me look.
I don't know.
But anyway, him and some chick named Soledad O'Brien did a podcast called "Who Killed JFK," and it's multi-part. If all of it's true, which seemed to be, they had some pretty credible interviews.
It's not that what he says isn't true. He is just like the most liberal of liberal human beings on the planet. I mean, just bad.
That's interesting, given the fact of what he's saying here. Like he's a staunch believer that the CIA.
So he was a Democrat. He was a Democrat in the '60s that just kept progressing with the Democrats of today. That just
went a little bonkers.
Just went nuts. Yeah.
Okay.
Super left.
Anyway,
which is fine. Whatever. I mean, it's not that I really care. His information is credible here, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, the podcasts are good. I'd suggest listening to it if this tickles your fancy.
Yeah.
But anyway, they said what he believes got JFK was that this stuff that we just talked about, JFK did not believe in. He didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was the CIA was presenting in this stuff, and he was like, "No, we're not going to do this." And I think he even fired the head of the CIA after the Bay of Pigs.
He did.
Because of how botched it was.
Yeah, he did. So Alan started with a D.
Dukakis?
No, it's not that.
Sorry.
Anyway, he fired him. He later ended up in the Warren Commission, though. Alan did.
The guy that...
Yep.
Stop.
The guy that they fired.
So the guy
There's a
that
phone
he fired...
conversation between J. Edgar Hoover and Lyndon B. Johnson where they were talking about it. And they said, yeah, I think Alan... We really need to know this guy's name.
Okay, I got you.
Would be great. He's a really solid guy. We think he'll toe the line.
Toe the line, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Under Kennedy.
I don't remember what his... Alan started... Duh.
It says John McCone. It says John McCone.
No, the one he fired.
Yeah, it says Don.
It wasn't it. Hold on.
Oh, it was before him because that was 61. Anyway, so we'll back up to what you just said. So the guy he fired from the CIA, they put him on the Warren...
Alan Dulles.
Alan Dulles. I had to hear that name. So they fired Alan Dulles from CIA because he botched the Bay of Pigs.
Yeah.
Fires him. Mm-hmm. JFK gets shot 2 years later. They put the guy that JFK fired on the commission to investigate who killed JFK.
Correct.
Come on.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and I think I'm going to try to get all that audio kind of compiled for next week. But there's a lot of conversation between J. Edgar Hoover and Lyndon B. Johnson that goes on about, hey, who do we want to install in this Warren Commission to investigate all this stuff? And most of it is, yeah, this guy would be good. He's not going to try to buck this system for the most part, is how that conversation went. And and we'll get more into this, I'm sure. But the whole thing with the Warren Commission is they were not going to have a conversation other than one shooter, period. They didn't want it to look like, because you're in this Cuban Missile Crisis, you're in all these situations, you don't want it to look like the entire country's divided and we're tore up over this, and just get it done and get it done quick.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what happened. They only had 10 months to investigate this whole deal. There's a whole lot of dirty stuff in that Warren Commission.
Let's take a quick break.
Yes.
And then we're going to dig into the Warren Commission, what they think, what they put out happened.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. ShroudedRealities.com.
That's a place, man.
That's a place. It's got all the Shrouded Realities information. I talked to a lot of family this week. Of course, the podcast is a big topic of my conversation because it's kind of my...
It's kind of what
free
we do
time.
now.
Yeah, it's kind of my free time life right now. Other than being a dad and going to church, it's a Shrouded Realities podcast, prepping for it, talking about it, editing for it, all the fun stuff. But yeah, ShroudedRealities.com is where you find everything. Kind of get our mission statement. We got links to all our social media. Got links to how you can find our show, which
how
we're
you
on
can get
everything.
in contact with us.
Yeah,
I mean, all things.
Please email us if you got questions. We've been getting a fair amount of comments on our stuff, you know, kind of giving us different ideas, different show ideas, ideas about what we're talking about. I've had some interesting things pop up that made me think. So let's see, what else can you get on ShroudedRealities.com? Got links to some of our shows.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch a YouTube episode, see our pretty faces, you can go there and find it. And you also got our store. That's my favorite part of the website.
We've got shirts.
We got shirts.
Then we've found this new thing. And I feel like I'm just hammering it, but you're
not though, because it's pretty special.
It's pretty special. There's companies out there that have figured out how to put adhesive on the back of paper.
Okay.
And I'm not talking like tape. I'm not talking like Scotch tape. I mean, that would be really rudimentary, basic, kind of ridiculous.
It's just high quality technical.
Yeah, this is
not technical. High quality.
It's technology at its finest.
Okay.
I think that Elon Musk could slap this on the side of one of his rockets. It would still be there once he got into space.
Could you imagine?
Dude, it'd be a big deal.
Elon puts a Shrouded Reality sticker.
I could contact him and he would do it.
One of our YouTube commenters said that they can go on cars.
They can
go on signs.
Yeah.
They can go on your gym's bulletin board.
What?
And now you just said it could go on a spaceship.
It could go on a spaceship.
That'd be freaking awesome.
So, best thing to do, and just to find technology like this, we're one of the few that really latched onto it. Go to shroudedrealities.com.
Yep.
Check it out. Hit that shop button.
There it is.
Once you hit that shop button, you'll see these stickers. I would just go ahead and click add to cart.
Yep.
And just go ahead and finish out the process.
So you're telling me by a twitch of my finger, I can have this super highly technological paper with sticky adhesive on the back that will go anywhere.
Yeah, on spaceships.
And have the coolest picture of Bigfoot and a Mothman and a UFO and a moon.
Yeah.
All right there.
I can't think of a better thing to go on a spaceship. You couldn't have a logo that would better fit a spaceship than that.
No. NASA, garbage.
NASA.
A weird looking NASA. Come on.
It's ridiculous.
ShroudedRealities.com.
SRs all day.
ShroudedRealities.com.
That's right.
That's where you find it.
Check us out.
Go get it. Maybe one day we'll get us a sponsor where we can quit hawking stickers.
No.
This is fun, though.
I don't know. I think I'm going to hawk stickers until the show's over. Okay. Until we just decide to call it quits. We're going to get a new sticker at some point. Then I'll have a little bit better pitch. And we're just going to keep doing it.
You think that's why Connor didn't want to come on today? Because he's tired of hearing about stickers?
He's probably like, he's going to talk about freaking stickers again. Steven, get some new material, man.
That's it. Patreon. That's where we get our unedited stuff. We're fully expecting. Well, I don't know.
Enough time has passed on this conversation that it may not be edited.
But I was about to say the atmosphere of YouTube seems to be changing a little bit too.
It does.
I don't think they're cutting out as much as they used to. If they ever get to,
I don't know. They're putting fact checks on everything now, though. So they're going to say, well, the narrative actually is that JFK was shot by 2 bullets from the same gun. Yeah,
that's probably going to
the Warren Commission states.
I wear that like a badge. That needs to be our T-shirt.
I may get a tattoo of it. Wikipedia fact checked.
I got Wikipedia fact checked.
Wikipedia doesn't like me. No. Just put it something like that. That'd be great.
Yeah. So and Patreon, we do put our stuff out 2 weeks early. So if you get really into the show, you get really impatient, like some of our other Patreon subscribers.
Yeah.
You can just pop on the Patreon, $2 a month.
What's bad is our Patreon subscribers are even like, dadgummit, when are y'all going to release that?
Yeah, I'm not even fast enough for, for some of the ones I've got.
We can't go faster than 2 weeks, guys. I'm sorry.
And if we have a technical error like we often do, because we're still learning how to do podcasts.
I don't know if y'all know this. We're still 3 idiots.
That's still how 3 idiots, and this is a very complicated industry to get into.
It is.
But I like it. It's fun.
We're enjoying it.
I'm getting smarter every day because of it. Let's get back into it. The Warren Commission was established after the assassination to figure out what happened. Okay, so Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested pretty quickly.
45 minutes. So the story goes, let's just say it that way.
Let's start with the official narrative.
The official narrative, he was on the 6th floor of the building that he worked in, which was the book?
The Texas School Book Depository.
Yes.
Don't know what that is, but it sounds weird.
It does sound strange. He was on the 6th floor. It was around lunchtime. And next week we'll get into some of the testimony that some people had, which was very conflicting. They conflicted themselves often.
Yeah.
But he was on the 6th floor. JFK comes driving down in his parade in Dallas.
Yeah.
3 shots rang out.
Yep. The first one hit a tree, which is kind of odd to me.
The trajectory of him hitting a tree would be kind of difficult if you look at the map, which we can probably throw up on the video.
Yeah, the distance between the tree and the shrapnel is pretty significant.
Yeah, it would be pretty hard to do that.
A little fishy.
But anyway, we're going official narrative here.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
One bullet hits a tree. Next bullet goes through the neck of
the neck or chest?
Chest-ish, neck-ish. Okay. If you look at the exit wound, it is definitely neck.
Okay.
Kind of like right in this. What do you call that?
Collarbone.
Your little dip,
kind of between the.
Yeah.
Has that got a name?
The little dip of your.
Right below the Adam's apple.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Anyway, right in that spot.
All right.
Goes through a seat. Hits the gentleman in front of him in the chest.
Which was a governor?
I don't remember who it was.
I think it was a governor.
We'll nail that down. Anyway, goes through the seat.
Governor Conley.
Hits Governor Conley in the back.
Yep.
Hits his rib. Goes through his rib. Into his hand. Wrist area. Comes out of his wrist. Into his leg.
Okay.
That was one bullet.
Uh-huh.
Third bullet rings out. Hits JFK in the head. Fatal shot. Kills him.
Narrative from the back.
Yeah, hit him in the back of the head.
All the bullets came from the same direction.
Yeah, all of them came from the same direction.
All right.
And then Lee Harvey Oswald then goes downstairs, leaves, jumps on a bus. Theater. Jumps on a bus. The bus is stopped, obviously, because of all the traffic.
Yeah.
He jumps off the bus, jumps on a taxi, goes to get out of said taxi.
Okay.
A police officer identifies him. Says this guy looks pretty similar.
Yeah.
No, let me back up. He goes home first. Gets a gun wherever he was living at the time, not his home.
His humble abode.
Grabs a gun. Police officer confronts him. He shoots the police officer, killing him. Then he goes and hides in a movie theater.
Okay, there it is.
And police raid the movie theater. And
so there's a manhunt pretty much on him pretty quickly.
Pretty quick.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is.
Considering the chaos.
He's arrested.
All right, so that's the official narrative. Yes. That's what happened. They arrest him 3 days later. He gets 2 days later. Jack Ruby.
They're transporting him.
A very interesting person in this whole thing. Jack Ruby is a mob boss, nightclub owner.
Yeah.
That shot him 2 days later when they were transporting him.
In the gut.
Shot him in the gut. Gut shot kills him.
Live on television, too.
Live on television.
Yeah.
And then he says he did it because he was trying to protect Jacqueline Onassis Kennedy from having to go through the trauma of going back to
It's like the worst
Dallas.
Excuse I've ever heard.
It's a really dumb excuse.
That's like, if you're going to do it, get a better one than that.
It's a good excuse if you're her brother or her father.
Not just a mob.
Avenging her husband's death.
Owner,
but not some rando mob boss.
I said night school. What am I talking? He was a night school owner.
Nightclub owner.
Yeah, he was a nightclub owner. There you
go. Yeah, super. It's so hard not to jump in conspiracy theory. We're already back in conspiracy theory. We're trying to even get through the narrative of what really happened.
Yeah.
So
have you heard the doctors what they said about Oswald? They were like, one shot. It's incredible how many places that this bullet just destroyed his entire inside.
Is this real or are you being facetious?
No, I'm being real. That's what they said. They're like, it's incredible how much damage this one bullet did to his gut. They said it hit his spleen, his pancreas, and main artery. I can't think of what they said, what the artery was.
Almost like they were
But it was like everything in his gut was just turned into soup.
From a snub nose pistol.
And what's really weird is it didn't exit his body.
Come on.
But this
from point blank range?
From point blank range.
Soft tissue through the gut.
Yeah. But the one bullet that went through made 7 different wounds.
Stop. We're trying to get through the narrative.
I'm sorry.
Before we get back to the crazy stuff.
That's one of those things I just thought of right now of like, wait, you're telling me that didn't even leave his body with a snub-nosed pistol in point blank range? Anyway. Sorry.
Come on. All right. So official narrative. Can't even get through it. The guy shoots the only suspect of the assassination, kills him 2 days, which is also interesting.
This was right after he got done saying he was a patsy.
I was going to say, he just got done screaming to the world, I'm a patsy, I'm a patsy. Patsy is a guy in the mob world that was set up to take the fall.
Yeah.
Okay, so, dang it. Quit. We got to get through this.
I just said he was a fall guy. I was saying what he said.
We got to get through this. He gets shot 2 days after the assassination, and they almost instantly formed the Warren Commission.
Yeah.
Which was headed up by the Chief of National Security.
No, it was FBI. J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah. Okay. So
FBI.
he sets up the Warren Commission, and they were to figure out what happened, who did it. Of course, they think they know who did it. So stop. They set up this commission.
Talking to yourself was great.
Stop it, Joey. Don't go there. They set up this commission to investigate it very quickly, I might add, to figure out what happened.
Yep. What
the narrative was, why he did it, who Oswald was. They had to do that posthumously.
I don't think that's a word.
After his death? Yeah, it's a word. If you do
posthumous?
Something
like a possum?
No,
like
not a possum.
Possumly.
Anyway, after he died, they're trying to figure out who he is. And of course, their conclusion was Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone shooter, did what you said, 3 bullets, killed the president. He acted on his own because he was a Russian defector. He wanted to be a communist. He actually moved to Russia with his family, moved back
Wasn't his wife Russian?
Yes, married a Russian lady, had 2 babies. They moved back to America.
Yeah.
Gets a job at the school book depository.
Seems like high living right there.
Seems like a weird place to get a job if you're an ex-Marine that just moved back from Russia.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
See, we're doing it again. We can't even get through it. I think we're done anyway. Let's get back to the conspiracy stuff because that's the official narrative.
Yeah.
That's what they say happened.
So this is all leading up to next week's episode right here.
Yeah.
Where we are really struggling not to push this whole thing over the edge. And just, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I want to so bad.
Can we touch just one piece that makes this go?
Hey, just dip your toe.
I'm going to dip my toe. Here's and I want to talk about what we was watching right before.
Yeah.
Me and Steven sat down before we started recording, and we watched the Zapruder tape. So Zapruder is the guy that filmed the only film of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think
a dressmaker, if I remember right. Yeah.
I think without this film, none of this is being talked about.
It would just be the few people that were there,
because there's no video, film, picture footage of the assassination.
No.
Okay.
Well, people didn't have it in their pockets like we do today. Yeah. I mean, if Trump was to drive down our road right now, there would be 100 videos of it.
I do find it incredibly interesting that there was no other film there.
Really?
It's a very pristine park-looking area. The what's it called? The
starts with a D. Plaza.
Yep.
Valley.
What's it?
I'm struggling with D words.
The Plaza.
Valley. Dealey?
Dealey. Ah, jeez, we're idiots. Don't listen to the word we're saying. Don't take our word for it.
Go look into this stuff.
The Dealey Plaza, which is where it happened. It's kind of a parkish looking place. So why wouldn't they not set up a photo op, camera opportunity, local news?
Why was he there to begin with? Do we know?
He was just cruising through. I don't know where he was going. He just got off the plane. but he was just cruising through Dallas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just kind of like doing his little, wave at the people, kiss the babies type thing.
I mean, he was getting pretty close to re-election time.
But
he was 3 years into his...
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're probably starting to campaign a little bit at that point.
But it's just really, really interesting that there's no other film footage there at all. I would imagine even back in those days, the news would have been like, hey, this is a very pretty spot for a pretty shot. Let's go here.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So this cat just happens to have his camera. And just starts filming, and it's like 30-something seconds long. It's on YouTube. We'll try to post a link to it too. But he films the car coming down the street. You see the car. You start getting views of the president and his wife, and when you start to see him, you see him with his right hand over his neck, like he had obviously been hit by that point. His wife's looking over at him, kind of consoling him. Hey, what's going on? Kind of freaking out a little bit. And then the car almost slows to a stop. I found that piece interesting.
That is weird.
It almost slows to a stop, and then it's graphic. So trigger warning, don't go watch it if you're not. The first time I seen it, it was a little shocking.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it on a documentary a few months ago. It's like, ooh, holy golly, this guy's head just exploded. But you see it. Yeah. And he very quickly goes forward just a hair, but then boom, his head goes back.
It seems like all of his momentum is going backwards.
Yeah. So he goes back. His, sorry, this is graphic. His head and brain matter ends up on the trunk of the car. His wife in her hysteria goes to get on the back of the car to get said body parts.
Yeah.
Completely understandable. Like, she's in shock. She's just trying to help.
You're just doing whatever you can do.
She says, "Hey, there's his brain. That's not supposed to be there. Let me get it." She goes and grabs it. And then the car speeds away almost instantly after that shot.
Yeah.
So we looked at the autopsy report.
Yeah.
That is also online, and it states that the exit wound was on the front.
Yeah.
Okay. And then me and you was like, okay, from the footage.
That isn't what I'd heard.
Yeah.
So I'd always heard that it was on the back.
Yeah, I did too. But then we found the report, the official autopsy report that said it was
on the front.
So
and while you do in the video see a splatter.
Yep.
Which would be, I would say, on the front side is where you see the splatter.
Yeah, there's a poof.
There is a poof of a splatter.
Yep.
I'm not going to go into too much more detail than that, just of the graphic nature of what that is.
Yeah. If you want to watch it,
if you want to watch it, definitely go see it.
It's easy to find.
It's very easy to find.
So that happened. That got me and Steven to kind of rewind it, rewatching it, just kind of seeing how the
trying to see where trajectory would have been at that point too. Of like, okay, if it's
because it looked to me like it come more from the side.
Yeah.
Than from the front or back. Definitely not the back.
It didn't look like the back.
Definitely not from the back, which is what the official
because of
report
the
says.
momentum of his body going backwards.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense for it to be coming from the back side.
No.
Your momentum would be going forward at that point.
And his body parts was on the trunk, which was behind him, which would lead me to indicate that it happened either from the front to the right of him.
Yeah. And then, I mean, entrance wounds and exit wounds are very different.
Very different. I've never seen an entrance wound explode.
No. Entrance wounds are normally very clean.
Yep.
Exit wounds
little
are
hole.
Little hole. It's like you just poked a hole in something.
Yep.
Exit wounds are very explosive.
Yeah, that's where you get the hole.
Yeah.
Okay, so the official autopsy report said, and I read it. I read it while you was, while we were researching, but it does say the front forward part of the head. So that got us questioning: was it really in the front of his head?
Yeah.
Was what we were hearing just conspiracy theory wackos just talking about it?
We had to take what our preconceived thoughts were and rethink them a little bit.
We wanted to be accurate.
I didn't want to be wrong here.
Didn't want to be wrong. So I went to YouTube and got to digging. Found an interview of the doctor, the emergency room doctor that first treated him. I'll link it as well. His name was Dr. Robert McClelland. There's an uncut interview from it. It doesn't say when. Maybe it does. I just didn't see it right off the bat. But anyway, he's an older man, so this is probably some years after. But he very distinctly describes that there was a 5-inch hole in the back of his head.
Yes.
And this is directly from the guy that's, like, he was the first one to find the hole in the back of his head.
Yeah. So why does the official narrative conflict with what the doctor...
Not only the official narrative, but the official autopsy report.
Yeah. Why does that differ? These are questions we're going to leave you guys with for this week.
Yep. And the autopsy, one little stat.
Keep going.
The autopsy was done in Massachusetts.
Weird. Well,
Weird.
I mean, the autopsy, maybe not.
How many military bases did they pass on the way to Massachusetts? Why did it have to go
that's
there?
not where he was treated initially.
Yeah,
he was initially treated
in Dallas.
So
why not do the autopsy there?
That I don't know, unless it's just closer to family to cut him up. I don't know.
Yeah.
These
weird.
are all questions that we will be answering.
Stay
with
tuned.
Our opinions come next week.
Yes, our opinions. Please don't sue us, CIA. Don't come after me. This is my opinion. This is the Shrouded Realities Opinion Show.
That's right.
We've got a special amendment that protects us from you coming after us.
It's called the first one.
That's the first one.
That's right.
And there's a lot of other big wigs talking about this, so go after them before they come after us.
Yeah, we're not first on the list.
We're small time, small potatoes. But tune in to the next episode of Shrouded Realities JFK Assassination Part 2.
That's right.
Where we're going to break down a little more what happened, who Lee Harvey Oswald was, and what we think happened.
Yeah.
That was solid. What do you think about that?
That was good, man.
That was a good one.
This has been the most humble show that me and you've ever had.
It makes me want to listen to the next episode. And I haven't even recorded it yet.
That's right.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody listening. For Ruby, the podcast dog, Joey, and Steven. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys.